All right, Proverbs 31. Let's call this one Sketches of Her. Understanding that there are times in life when we can feel compelled to say something nice, but it makes it so much easier when the praise that we want to give a person is simply on facts, as they sometimes say, or simply based in reality. In this proverb that famously talks about the wife of noble character, but starts out with a brief summary of things that a mother is advising her son, understanding that most of the proverbs seem to be attributed to Solomon, talking about the things that he hopes for his son. We now see a man by the name of King Lemuel reminiscing on the things that his mother taught him in the first 9 verses or so, as it goes on in verse 10 through the end of the chapter to famously, as we've said, talk about the wife of noble character. And since we are simply providing sketches of the chapters at this point, hoping that in due time we can double back and give a better summary, let's just focus on the working words of the verbs. Understanding that preacher hack, sometimes the verbs can give you a lot of insight into the actual meaning of the deeper meaning of a passage. And in this particular time, since we are giving a sketch, I think the verbs give a lot of insight into the wife of noble character. Not going into every verb, but noticing a few, beginning in verse 12, acknowledging the way that she builds. Verse 13, the way that she works. Going on to talk about the way in which in verse 15 she rises early, and it's not just her. She seems to have a staff, and not just people she can brag about bossing around, but people she equips to actually be excellent too. Understanding that some of her excellence in verse 16 is described by the way she makes money moves, not just being gifted in the way that she can spend it, understanding the ways that she can be savvy in making it too. Verses 17 and 18 in a related manner, going on to talk about the way in which she sees a great opportunity and notices how to seize it. Going on beyond that to say, beyond seizing a good opportunity for herself, she does not close her eyes or pretend that she does not see the poor and needy, noting the way that she eagerly gives to those who are in need. One of the reasons that she may not be afraid of future times, because she knows that even beyond what she can do for herself, there are things that she needs God to look out for on her and her family's behalf. But insofar as it depends upon her, verse 21 helps us understand the ways in which she personally prepares her family for tough times ahead. Noticing that all of this leads to verse 23, where it notes that her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders, meaning she is not simply doing cool stuff. She seems to be doing cool stuff that reflects well on him and helps his status. Going even further to talk about the way in which he is not simply acknowledged at the gate, but she is known for her wisdom in verse 26, all leading into the conclusion in verses 28 through the end of the chapter, where it notices that she is praised not only by her kids, but by her husband as well. And beyond the praise that she can get from her kids and her husband, she makes it easy for them, because the final verse of the chapter says that her works are what praise her. Going back to what we said at the beginning, noticing the way in which she makes it easy for her household to praise her, because they are simply praising her on facts. Reminding me of something we say from time to time about Jesus's ministry, when in Matthew chapter 12, he said that from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. She seems to have lived a life and set an example that makes the praise that comes from her household simply an overflow from the reality that everybody gets a chance to see. Meaning that the wife of noble character can be an example not only to women, but to all of us. Understanding that we probably all appreciate praise. My prayer for you is my prayer for me, that instead of trying to stretch the truth of passages like this to fit what we are as people, may God give us the strength to step up our game so people can simply praise us on fact.